How many of you have ever bought a pair of shoes in the wrong size? This video will hopefully prevent anybody else from experiencing that. I'm going to go over 3 of the most popular methods for measuring your foot. This is a brannock device. I'm not a huge fan of this method, but we're going to start with the brannock device. This is probably the measuring experience you've had if you've ever gone into a brick and mortar shoe store. And I'm going to use the brannock device and compare this to a pair of Alden boots that I have. In a number of Alden retailers, it definitely references using a brannock device to get your size. And then it kind of has the different lasts and references based off of your brannock size, what should you choose in these different lasts. Then I'm going to do the ABC method, compare that to stock last shoes that I have from Antonio Mecariello. Lastly, we'll go ahead and we'll compare my pair of remote bespoke shoes from Ichigo Ichie, tracing that I provided him, and just see how well that shoe fits or how accurate the overall method is of taking your own measurements. Let's get started with the brannock device. First, you take the length of your foot, figure out what that number is. Make sure that you're looking perpendicular to the ground, so literally straight down. Otherwise, you're going to get a bit of an angle and skew your measurement. Then you'll go over to the arch. You'll line that up with the ball of your foot. The final measurement is the width, and you get that by using the length, the numerical value that came with the length of your foot, and you'll get like a B, C, D, E, F measurement for the width. So I got in between an 8.5 and a 9 on both the length and the arch, as well on the width. It came out in between a D and an E. Now we'll do the ABC measuring method, create more of a 3D anatomical measuring method to provide to the shoemaker. Let's take a look at that. Start by standing the ruler on its edge. Make sure it's not slanted in either direction because you want to get an accurate measurement. Draw a line in front of your foot, behind your foot, and on either side of your foot to gain a linear measurement of your length and width. Then grab your tailor's tape and you're going to capture the circumference of the ball of your foot, your low instep and high instep. Note, some makers will ask for additional measurements, such as a heel measurement. This is going to be the same exact process that we've just seen, different parts of your foot. Now let's get into kind of how to trace your own foot for a remote bespoke or remote made to measure order. This is definitely the most complex. It's also the most critical for the accuracy, as the shoemaker is going to be relying on each and every measurement that you take. Here I'm sharing a video that I made probably like a year and a half ago for Ichigo Ichie. This was the actual tracings that I was making to provide to Lee Trung for that order, and I figured I would share it because while I can kind of give you a demonstration of how I do it now, this is actually the tracing and actually the technique that was used to make this pair of loafers. This measurement process starts off with a very similar process to the ABC method, but you're going to proceed to actually trace the outline of your foot. It's critical that your pencil remain perpendicular to the floor at all times so that the outline is accurate and not tilted inward or outward. Now that we've had a chance to walk through how to actually perform each of these measurements, let's go ahead and take a look and compare what results each provide when it comes to the actual shoe that you're going to get, or most likely will get, as a result of using one of these methods. Let's start with this pair of Alden boots. The brannock sizing came out to on the right foot between an 8.5 and a 9 with a D or E width, and on the left foot it was about an 8.5 with in between a D and an E width. Now this is the Barry last, and this is a 9D. Now the Barry sizing advice from just say like Division Road in this case is to size down by a half for the Barry last. I've tried the 8, I've tried the 8.5. They were both extremely painful around the toes as well as the instep, and honestly it's the most comfortable pair of Aldens that I've ever purchased, and it's definitely the proper size for my foot for the Alden Barry last. Looking at the result of the ABC measuring method, this is an Antonio Mecariello soft square last UK 8. So if we go through the various sizings here, I had a 26.2 in the length, a 12 width, a 27 circumference of the ball of my foot, 25.2 circumference of the instep, and a 26.8 circumference of the high, taller part of my instep. But this is where you're really going to rely on the shoemaker to make that decision. You're going to provide them all of the measurements that you've taken, and they can make the best informed decision about what size you should use with their knowledge and understanding of how they've designed their lasts to fit for your feet. Now this UK 8 in the soft square last fits very well. There's obviously some compromises in different areas because this is a stock last, but overall this is definitely the proper size. Now let's look at my remote bespoke order from Ichigo Ichie. This is definitely the most time consuming, complex measuring process that I've ever gone through. The shoemaker is going to be relying on each and every individual measurement and tracing that you take of your own feet, and that's what they're actually going to be drafting and building that last off of. It's very important that you take the time to repeat this measurement multiple times to kind of validate that you're getting the right number. All of those types of intangible details is going to impact the result. This, without a doubt, is like my best fitting and most comfortable, most supportive loafer that I have of any maker. Yeah, and rightfully so, it should be. When it comes time to deciding, like, is this a valuable measuring tool? The brannock device definitely has its time and place. When you have no point of reference, this is a great place to start to begin trying on shoes. Also, when you're looking at different size guides online, the brannock device is somewhat a universal language to be able to translate what information you do have and the information the shoemaker is providing. That said, it definitely lacks in a number of areas, and that's where you can see these other more time-consuming but detailed measuring methods definitely will come into play, and you'll find them extremely helpful. I definitely would not suggest anybody go out and buy a brannock device. If you ever need to do it, you can probably just go to a local shoe store and have them measure your foot, and then kind of take a note of what that result was and use that for whatever purchasing decisions that you need to. Appreciate those of you that are still around, made it this far into the video. If you did, let me know what you think about this type of content in the comments. That's extremely helpful and really appreciate it. If you're interested in more information about shoe sizing, check out this video about loafers, or if you just want to see some other content about some of my favorite shoes and favorite leathers like shell cordovan, check out this playlist. Thanks.